Let's finish it.
Ay, coming in, flex. I just wanna win, LABB, who we running with, 2233, I'm on 10 again. State your name.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of The Closing Pitch. My name is Spiker Helms, and this is a show about people, culture, and how to create a winning lifestyle. Dave, how are you doing today, man?
I'm good, buddy. I'm good. It's a Friday.
It is a
I'm
Friday.
about 5 cups of coffee deep, so I'm wired.
I'm only on my 4th cup of coffee, but I'm going to get there pretty soon.
You know what? Now that we have a coffee machine here, I just find myself going to it throughout the day. But I love coffee, so it's okay.
We're starting to become more like corporate America.
I know.
Every single day.
Dang you, Keurig.
I'm waiting until we have a human resources section, and then I'm going to literally put you into...
Well, that's fine. I'll be in there all day long.
Complaints
I'll report
every
to
day.
HR all day long. What did you do this time? I don't know.
Human resources person like, oh, don't do that. Guys, today, talking about human resources, we're actually going to be talking about your self-opinion. And the premise of this whole thing is I was reading a book, Human Nature, and I'll get the author for you if Dave can research it for me really quick, because the author is drawing a blank right now. But the premise of the whole thing on one of his sections of the page is that it really is apropos for what's going on right now. And if you're listening to this at a later date, we just got done with the elections and it's 2020, and it just seems like everything is going in a downward spiral, and every turn that you make, you end up hearing something or seeing something, and the caution flags go up, and you're like, oh my gosh, did you hear about this? Oh my gosh, did you hear what Susie said about that? Oh, I don't know about him. He might be doing the wrong thing. Well, let's kind of hone in on it. Let's see what's happening. And the premise of this is that people have a perception about themselves. They perceive their own character and worthiness. We tell ourselves a story. That is a main key point on human nature, no matter who you are. And there are 3 overarching qualities that nearly are universal, not necessarily universal. Some people might have it a little bit different, but I am autonomous. I act on my own free will. I am intelligent in my own way, and I am basically a good and decent person. Overarching, no complaints there, Dave? No disagreement?
Nope.
Exactly. And so we have our own specific self-opinions, and is determined by our everyday thinking and our values. And this is where this conversation is going to get a little bit more interesting, is that we have Twitter, we have Instagram, we have TikTok, we have the news stations, we have Netflix. We have all of this entertainment stuff, which we get bombarded constantly with our phones, our TVs, you name it.
We have a lot of different ways to get information.
Yeah, a lot of different ways, which is a really good thing. Now, I'm not saying we should go back to the Stone Age era and literally just cut off everything. I'm not one of these crazy people that thinks that, oh, it's all bad. No, it's good. But as a person, we are maturing a little bit. We need to mature a little bit faster with this information. And I don't think that we're quite ready yet for this. And it's good, though, because we're going to learn from how this is happening to us right now, which, again, if you are not in the marketing space and don't know a lot about marketing and how it works, there's one specific thing that happens, which is a funnel. If you don't know what a funnel is, if you see a Facebook ad and you click on it, then it tracks you. This is the whole thing that got Facebook in trouble with the Supreme Court, is that it tracks you, and then now you're in that funnel. And you end up going, and everything you see is, if you're in golf, what do you see?
Just different product, just this, that, courses,
content,
whatever.
You name it. Or you're in cooking. What are you going to see?
Cooking videos, cooking equipment, food, everything.
Yeah. So what's really funny is sometimes Sean will say, hey, can you message this person on Instagram? And then all of a sudden I get on their feed, and she's like, can you find this post? And I'll find it. I'm like, holy smokes, this is way different than how my feed is. That's what a funnel is, and that's a bubble. And we automatically get into these bubbles, and we don't realize that we're in that bubble. What is that doing to our thinking? Because I'm all about how do we become a winner.
Well, it's almost like it's creating a system of seeing what you want to see. That's what social media, that's what these search engines, that's what everything's, triggered to do. It's to basically find out your likes, your needs, your wants, your thoughts in the moment, real time, and give it to you.
Which again, that could be a really good thing.
Great
at times.
thing from a sales perspective.
Yeah, from a sales perspective is good. And if you're thinking in the right direction, you might be seeing all the things that you need to see, which is entrepreneurship. Like for me, I see a lot of entrepreneurship. I see a lot of mental toughness. Everything that I am wanting to become a winner, I keep on seeing because I want to see that. That's what I want, right? Mm-hmm. But then there could be someone that ends up going into this rabbit hole of negativity, and they don't realize that they're caught into that moment. What is that doing? Because every time that I go on social media, I'm always auditing myself. Is this something that I really want to see? And if it is, I'm very cautious of clicking on the next thing because I don't want to click on that and keep on receiving. Like Whoop. If you don't know what Whoop Strap is, I get that constantly because I'm very active. I try to figure out ways to make myself better. And a Whoop Strap.
Well, anyone who listens to this podcast is going to get it because we just mentioned Whoop.
Oh, I know. Exactly. They're like, son of a gun. But if you don't know what a Whoop is, again, this is a free sponsorship for Whoop. It's a tracker for your wrist. It's just like an Apple Watch. And it tracks literally everything and anything that you want when it comes to fitness, sleep, stress levels. It is an amazing product. I don't own one yet, but it's really making me want to. And I'm okay with that. And I'm okay with Whoop advertising to me because that is something it's literally in my own self-opinion. It is what I want to see. Now, if you're wondering, these are the things that for me that I'm trying to get to, and this is my own self-opinion. Everyone's going to have a different one, but the three overarching ones, I'm going to repeat it, is I'm autonomous, act on my own free will, I'm intelligent in my own way, I'm basically good and decent. Every single person has that in their own list. Now, for me, it's I'm gritty. I want to be self-reliant. I am looking for tough love. That's me. And I get that constantly. And I'm always auditing myself. If I end up seeing things that end up being, it's a story about being a victim or someone is we talked about it with TikTok.
Sure.
Where it got to a point where I'm like, is everyone a victim? Is everyone like really loves self-deprecating humor? I don't get it. I stopped seeing that stuff in my feed after we started mentioning that because I stopped scrolling and landing on those things and watching those videos.
Well, I think it's what you're saying is it's really easy to kind of close yourself off from a lot of different aspects of life. It's easy to just surround yourself with everything that you want to hear because the rate of information that's getting thrown at us these days, and I don't care what area you're talking about, it's really easy to get that information and to get stuck with that information. And that is by far and away the correct only information that I want to consume. And then all of a sudden you go a month, 2 months, 3 months down the road, and that's all you're thinking about. It's it. And then you've basically closed yourself off to the rest of the world, that you're only in that bubble. That's the only thing that you're thinking about. And that no matter what conversations you have with people, you always go back to that bubble, and you always try to bring them into that, rather than what you're talking about is making sure that you're continuously keeping an open mind about things. It's open-mindedness versus closed-mindedness. And that's what you see that all the time, especially in the time frame that we have right now, which is what you said after the elections and everything else.
Yep. Like if you're lazily scrolling through social media, which again, we all get to that point. That's the CEOs and the people that created this. They're
very smart.
They're very, very smart, and they based off their product off of human nature. They studied human nature. They know the trigger points, and they want to make sure that they have your attention because, again, it's very profitable for them to make sure that you're staying on their platform. Now that we know that's the thing, how do we end up changing it to where we can actually create, if you're stuck in a negative mindset or you're like, man, this sucks. I hate 2020. This was a horrible year. And I hope 2021 is better. There's no hoping about it. you've got to be in that driver's
active choice.
You've got to be in that driver's seat.
Yeah, I think it's an active choice. And what we're going to talk about here today is I think that something that should always be a constant for you as a person is having that open growth, change, just type of mindset that is possible, right? That at any given moment, that any information I listen to could help me, right? I might not like it all. I might throw a lot of it away, but I want to stay open to it. I want to stay open to change, open to different new information that would come in front of me, rather than just get stuck in my pseudo bubble and just only be worried about the things that I want to hear. And you see that from consistent winners. It's the topic we talk about all the time on this podcast is what separates those consistent winners from the one-time wonders. And generally speaking, it's that they're always open to the next step. They're always willing to change, to pivot, to move in a different direction that might help them, rather than being in that situation where I've won a couple times, I've had a little bit of success, I've found some information that's helped me, and now that's the Bible. That's it. That is the only thing that I'm going to listen to for the rest of my life because it has served me well. Well, ultimately, in most circumstances, whenever you get to that point from a mindset standpoint, that's the moment that you hit the brakes. That's the moment when other people are hitting the gas pedal and they're passing you because you're not willing to change, to evolve. This world, whether you like it or not, is evolving at a rate that sometimes seems uncontrollable. There is new information around the corner at every different medium that you want to look into. Now, do you consume all of it? Do you just, like you said, do you just take everything that you listen to and now you're like, oh, this could help me or this could help me, and now you got a million different ideas? Do you audit yourself like what you're talking about, where you kind of think about a certain idea and will this help me, will it not? And if it will I dive into it? Or will you be closed-minded and not basically taking anything that you don't want to hear? That's the options.
Yep. I think you got to be right in the middle. You got to be open to different ideas. And when you're not, like you said, when you are not open to ideas, you're not able to put it into words or thoughts that make sense to you. You end up getting distracted by all these shiny objects. And you end up, your mindset ends up changing, and you don't have your own self-opinion. That's the biggest thing, is that you have a self-opinion, and it's been developed in you with your own experiences, which makes
Sure.
you completely unique.
Yep.
That's the big thing. You are completely unique because of your own self-opinions, because of your experience. Now, again, this is what I love learning about people that win. I love it because there are some people that had really horrible pasts that you would think, oh my gosh, how did this happen to a person? This should never happen. Then you have some people that end up having the unbelievable lifestyle, and they end up being a winner. And you have the opposite. You have someone that's had a horrible past. You've never heard their story before. Similar situation as the winner, but you've never heard about them, and they're stuck. Which again, that's sad. Mm-hmm. I hate that. Mm-hmm. That really kills me. And then you have the person that ends up being at the top. They're born into it. They have a golden spoon in their mouth. And they end up falling all the way down. How are we able to be a person that, if we start from literally zero and we have to get to the golden circle,
sure.
How do I get there? And also, if I'm already at the golden circle, how do I stay there? It's the conversation we had a couple episodes ago, which is the one-hit wonder versus the person that's able to stay consistent. The Michael Jordans, the Tom Bradys. You name the big influential person.
Well, I think here's one thing that comes to mind, because I don't think there's any way to just 100% avoid closed-mindedness. I don't think there's ever a way to do that. I think that everybody is going to fall into that example or that column at some point in time, probably multiple times.
But also that's a defense. That could help. That could help you as well.
Correct. It can. Now, what I would say to this, the separators, I think everybody understands you're going to get there. You're going to fall in love with some information, some beliefs that you, and in that moment, in real time, believe is the only thing that's going to help you. That's the only path. That's the only way. I think a separator generally in terms of people who succeed more often or just more overall is how often or how long do they stay in that closed-minded set. Okay? How quickly are they able to pivot out of it when they see a new area or new avenue that they know can help them? The people who tend to just kind of plateau, flatline are the guys that stick in that mindset for too long, that they stick in those beliefs for way too long, and then before you know it, several months, whatever, has gone by, and now you come out of that realization. But it's too late. There's so many people who have passed you. Not that it's the end, but there's been time lost. Whereas I think consistent winners are always evolving and maybe stacking beliefs on top of other beliefs and maybe just looking for that next deal. They're not sticking in that closed-minded frame, that mindset for very long.
I kind of view it this way. A good example of this is the era from newspaper to radio, radio to TV, TV to the internet.
That's a good example.
Internet to blockchain. If you don't know what blockchain is, you are you need to start researching that right now because that is the next wave. There are people that have able to mesh, families that are able to mesh, going from newspapers to radio to TV to internet, and now this next wave, and they're still at the top of their game. And there are people that said, TV's a fad, internet's a fad. Now this thing, which is blockchain, that's a fad. If you don't know what blockchain is, I'll just say it right now. When I say this word, you are going to have one of two opinions or three opinions. One, you're going to say, oh, that's a Ponzi scheme. That's a pyramid scheme. It doesn't work. It'll be here and it'll leave. It's not going to be there. Two, this is the wave of the future. And three, I don't know much about it. I need to learn more about it. Bitcoin. You're one of those three camps.
Yeah.
What do you think the same thing? Internet, same thing. TV, same thing. Radio, same thing. Even better. Here's another one for you. Last example, because I'm just having fun with this example. Horses versus cars.
Well, okay, so I got to go back to that one before because I thought about it totally different, okay? When you gave that example of it was newspaper, radio, TV, internet, everything else, okay?
Blockchain.
What I always thought of when you started going through this, and this is where I thought you were going to go, but you went somewhere different. I thought of all the businesses that pivoted correctly, and then I thought of all the businesses that didn't.
Exactly.
I thought of all the businesses that got all in on that area, that they thought for the next 20, 30 years, this was going to be it. I found it. I'm winning right now. I'm going all in on this area like Blockbuster Video. Okay, that's where I kind of thought of.
I have so many.
And I love Blockbuster
I
Video.
have so many good. I was actually. You know what's weird about this? I was thinking about this the other day. Do you remember like Blockbuster Video used to have like a canopy up top so they could see if the people were stealing or anything?
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know why I was thinking about
cool.
that, but like, yeah, great memories. 2-day rentals, 5-day rentals,
and I love it. And that's what I grew up on, man. That was it. And they had the market cornered at that moment. There wasn't a Friday night that I had growing up in my younger days that my mom didn't take me to Blockbuster Video to get a video game or a movie for that night.
It was
awesome.
It was Blockbuster Video, or you're going to the movie theaters.
Yeah, for sure. And they had it. And I've thought of like other things like newspapers. They thought print was going to be the thing forever. And they never pivoted to internet. They never pivoted off that. Same thing with radio. It's just people laugh at podcasts. Like I was listening to Joe Rogan the other day, and he was talking about 4 or 5 years ago with some guest, and he was like, when I basically started doing this, 8 years ago, people laughed at me. They were like, this is not ever going to work. This is never going to be a thing. And now he's got a $100 million deal with Spotify. I mean, again, it's having that open-mindedness to adjust when needed.
We see it in the baseball space, softball space. I'll say this name, Driveline. Driveline, if you want to give us a sponsorship, hit us up. But anyways, people thought Driveline was freaking crazy.
Crazy.
When they first came onto the scene, and Kyle Bodie being Kyle Bodie, I enjoy his Twitter. I really do. He has literally been a catalyst for this industry and has pushed it in the right direction. There are some things I disagree with on the training side, but again, I like listening to him because he ends up he's one of those guys that I feel like is on the same page that I'm in. How can I get better?
Well, it's Kyle Bodie versus old school pitching mechanic coach.
Oh yes.
That's the verse. That is what we're talking about. It's the guy who that is just stuck with that one way of teaching for the rest of his life, and that is the way it's going to be. And then, unfortunately, I'm not saying that there's not some qualities that guy has that we should take from him, but the Kyle Bodies of the world who are evolving with this game and taking more of an analytical approach and putting all this tech together and everything else, well, he's the one who's winning right now. It's where the game's shifting. And it's just, again, it goes back to having that closed-minded set
and that's the thing. My self-opinion matches up, my characteristics match up with his when it comes to one thing and one thing only. How do I get better? Now, do I disagree with him on certain things? Yes. There are a number of things that I disagree with him on, and I could go down that list, but I don't want to head down there. What I am saying, though, is that that's the big thing. You have to know your self-opinion, your characteristics, what matches up. Now, I'll give you a hint. If your self-opinion and your characteristics and you're in this rut where you just literally feel like you're losing every single day and you're not reaching that next step where you're seeing a cornerstone and you're rounding the corner and you're moving in the direction that you want to go, which is, what is it that you want? If you're not moving in that direction, you have to address, and I do this constantly with myself, I have to address, what is it that I'm seeing, hearing, consuming that's not getting me in the right direction and matching what I really want, which is I want to be a winner. I want to match the same characteristics as the best in the world.
And I'll give... Just going back, because it's a thought that's on my head, it's interesting you bring up Driveline and Kyle Bodie, because I was 100% one of the guys when I first started following his content 5-6 years ago, when he was basically in a one-room deal, and I think it was Seattle, just doing these crazy techniques and these crazy things. I was the guy who said, there's a one-hit wonder. That guy's not going anywhere. Well, he's got the last laugh on me, because now he's, one of the guys being, course to come into every major league organization and teach them his topics. But in his credit, he has always been a guy who, in my opinion, now looking back at it, who has evolved with the game. He's never been stuck in one thing. Like, he started off as being he was known as the weighted ball guy, and that was his thing. And
he wasn't even a baseball guy.
No, he wasn't. He was just a dude who was testing theories. He's a data guy, in all honesty. And he was a guy who was just testing theories, this or that. And when he came onto the scene, it was all about his weighted ball routine. And I don't think when people think Driveline now and they think Kyle Bodie, they do not even remotely associate him with that. They associate him with totally different concepts and training techniques that he's now being paid very, very handsomely for, and he should. But you can take that example and, again, put it into any type of situation out there where I think any of these businesses, did Blockbuster pivot? I don't know. I don't think so. Did some print pivot? They didn't. Did other businesses that, you grew up on that now are no longer there, did they pivot? Or were they closed-minded to think at that moment that they had the world by, the balls and that they could do whatever they wanted?
And that goes back to a player. We'll relate this all the way down down to the micro level.
Yep.
I have one of my players right now. He's 13, 14 years old, and he's on top of the world.
Yeah.
Has literally hit a whole bunch of home runs. And my goal, my thing is trying to put him into this aspect that what you did was great. Is that all you got? What's the next step? What is it that you need to do? You got to feed that because I've seen this all the time.
Keep him grounded.
Yeah, I've seen this all the time. When I played, when I was looking back at the guys that I saw in my previous high school, and then also what I see now. You have those players that 13 years old, they light the world on fire. They're throwing super hard. They hit balls all over the yard. They're just an absolute 100% stud. But then when they get to high school, maturity happens and their level ends up staying plateau because they're living off that, oh, everyone loves me. I get all this attention. Johnny's mom just said I was a really good player. This coach over here, literally on the other opposing side, stopped at the end of the at the end of the line and said, "Hey, you're a heck of a ball player."
Because they just assume that they're on the path. They just assume that now I've got it figured out, that I'm just going to keep going up that path. Because so many people have told them so, right? You're the dude at 13. You're the dude at 14.
Which that positive enforcement is a good thing.
It's not a bad thing.
It's a great thing. But then it goes back to, this is my self-opinion. I love tough love. I love it. When someone is giving me tough love that knows that they're keeping me grounded. They're giving me the straightforward answer. Now again, do I like my ego to be stroked? Yeah, everyone does. If you're sitting here like, oh, I could care less if someone says I did a good job. BS. You love hearing that. If it's in the right context, you love it. Everyone does. Because you want to know if you're doing things right. You want to know if you want that validation. Getting validation from your community is a huge thing that helps you grow. If you don't have any validation, you're going to end up withering and dying, and you're not going to end up making the move. Now, this is what we're saying, though, is that it has to be an equal balance. It has to be one of those things where you are equally balanced throughout. You get that big appreciation that you need, but also you get that hard love, which is what now?
What's next?
What's next? Testing them on it, seeing what their answers are.
Your word's audit. My word is open. Just consistently being open. That knowing that you're not ever hitting that peak. There isn't a peak. You know, one of the I think about this phrase all the time, and it's like I think it's in the movie Wall Street, and this is just applicable towards money, that this concept, but I kind of take it into different areas. And they ask, like, okay, so you're a very wealthy person. At what point do you just walk away and say that that's it? And everybody has a number, right? Is that 100 million, 200 million? What is it? And the answer was more. From the individual. Mm-hmm. So I always take that into concept or out of context into this area, and I say, okay, you're at a level of success right now that you're very happy with, like that player. Okay, he's the 14-year-old dude right now. Okay, is he okay with that? Is that his peak? Is that his mountaintop? Or is he just on his path? And if he's on his path and that's where his mindset is and that's where his growth mentality is, then you're always finding out how to find that next step up. How do I get that next grasp on that mountain climb? Okay. And what level or what information is going to, give that to me. And if you're on that mindset that you're always auditing, being open, whatever it might be, however you associate that, then again, the common theme of this podcast, you're consistently leveling up.
I love this area of coaching. Is because you're dealing with human nature. That's why I'm reading this book.
I didn't even figure it out. Who was it? Give me that.
Go Human Nature book. See what it is.
That's real common.
There it is. Laws of Human Nature, and it's by Robert Greene. Robert Greene's written a number of books, but the Laws of Human Nature is awesome. If you ever want to watch an interview with him on YouTube, there's a podcasting or YouTube channel that I follow called Valuetainment. They have some really good guests. He goes from different wide ranges, but just type in Robert Greene Valuetainment and then his interview will pop up. He's a different dude, just a different guy altogether. Thinks completely in a direction that a lot of humans don't think about. He really addresses the things that are kind of underlying that a psychologist would go down or a sociologist would go down. So, but anyways, this is what I love about coaching is the human nature aspect, because every single person is different. They may seem similar, but how they think and their experiences that they've had so far, also what their parents are telling them at the dinner table, because they're seeing their parents more often than we are. So all that influential stuff, and then how do I get them to be in the direction, because they're paying me to give them instruction. They have a desire to play at a very high level. How do I get them to that high level? Because there's different ways I'm going to handle different people.
Can I give you an example or something that served me really well over the years? And I just recently learned this.
No,
Like I
you
said.
can't.
Okay,
That's,
well, I'm going to
that's
anyhow.
unacceptable.
Thanks, I'm going to anyhow. I have always got that aha moment or learned more from having conversations with people that I thought were totally on the other side of the aisle for me,
Oh yeah.
that thought differently than me, that most people would be like, that person's a little different. That person's weird. Why are they thinking that way? I've always come out of those conversations, maybe not agreeing with everything, but I've always had a whoa moment or a, man, dude, am I thinking about this exactly how I should be moment?
But how do you go into those conversations? Like, do you go?
Okay.
That's the big thing, because someone's gonna be like, "Oh, that's great, Dave," but like, how do I approach that?
I can't lie. Sometimes it's not easy to always go into those. Like, I'm not a perfect human being. I don't walk into all those conversations and be, man, I'm excited about this conversation. I totally disagree with you, but let's have a conversation. I can't sit here and lie and say that I do that. I'm not, that's just not my human nature. Sometimes I've had to be kind of coaxed into it, or, I've really had to kind of stop and check myself and be like, why are you shutting this person down? Just hear them out, but ultimately what I've found is that if I do go into those conversations, which is sorely lacking these days, those conversations aren't happening. But when I do go into those conversations with, hey, I might totally hate everything you said. And, at the end of the day, if I don't like anything, there's nothing lost here, that we can still be friends. We can still talk and just have a genuine conversation. If I go into it with that mindset, then I think I'm going to gain something out of it. And ultimately I normally do. And that's served me well. And that's where I think just auditing, open, whatever term you want to use, don't be afraid of those. Don't shy away. Don't hate those conversations. Don't hate those moments. Don't turn something on the TV that might be totally different than what you're willing or, comfortable with listening to. Don't shy away from that.
Whenever I struggle with those conversations, I end up being very opinionated, and I be very emotional, and it takes, like, some days I'm really good at it where I'm able to ask questions and be really engulfed with that person.
100%.
Because I know that my mind is not going to be completely changed. Like, at some point I have my own self-opinion. That's this whole concept, is that I have my own self-opinion. I don't want to be stuck into this funnel or bubble. I want to be open to ideas. I'm going to ask a lot of questions, and I want to be totally engulfed with what that person is and who that person is and how they think. Because, and this is how you could diffuse a lot of those tough conversations. And this is how I'm able to go from my Catholic culture to Indian culture, is that I'm willing to ask a lot of questions, because Shandi's dad and Shandi's mom, they love their religion, they love their culture, and that's at their heart, and they want to talk about that stuff. They don't want to hear about my Catholic faith. At some point they might, I don't know, but they really want to talk about their Indian culture, which, again, there's been some times where I've had huge debates. One of my friends who lives in Tampa, we've had some big time arguments because he thinks differently on certain things about news topics or religious topics, and I completely disagree with him. And then he ends up pushing my buttons, and then my emotions get the best of me. But then when those conversations go really well is when I end up knowing, okay, I want to know what he knows. I want to learn what he's been doing.
Why is he seeing it this way?
Why is he seeing it this way? And it diffuses everything, because he doesn't have someone that's combative. He doesn't have someone that's going to fight him on his self-opinion, because that's what it ends up coming down to, is that he has his own thing. He has his belief systems, because he's had his own experiences. And granted, those are very valuable. That's what makes him unique. And I want to learn about that.
Love it. You couldn't have said it better.
Is that my closing pitch?
I think that's my closing pitch. I don't even know if I have one. I'd just be saying the same thing over and over.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I just think that this is a topic that needs to be brought up consistently. It's
And that's what change. That's what
Yeah.
changes. That's what changes the culture. That's what changes. That's why I think, and we've talked about this when we first started out in club baseball. That's a huge risk when we were jumping into it. There was no proven path
no.
at all. It was we're going to do baseball because this is what a lot of
I
people.
just enjoy coaching.
I just
always
enjoy
want to be around the game.
Yeah, I just want to be around the game, and then
Which is cool.
Yeah, and then a lot of people thought, "Oh, you're not growing up or anything like that." But it was a risk. Like, if we weren't heading in the right direction, if our culture in this company wasn't what it is, we probably wouldn't be here. We'd be going in a different direction, right?
Right.
That's what we're talking about. Is that if you're able to have these tough conversations and you're able to know the self opinions of others, you're going to grow in the right direction. That's why I think this company has grown to what it is, because Aaron says it all the time. We have 4 drivers, and these 4 drivers are doing their thing, and they're trying to go as hard as they possibly can in the paint. And now we're starting to get more drivers in the seat where they're going down their avenues and building things. Like Sandy's building this fundraising side of our company that's just going to be freaking awesome.
Exactly.
So from the last point I want to make, guys, is that your self-opinion, know what those are, and then being able to know that, are you really feeding your mind what you should be feeding it? That's it.
Love it.
All right, guys, this is this episode of The Closing Pitch. My name is Spiker Helms. Across from me is David Birkby. We are 2 national directors for the Rawlings Tigers. Podcasting is not our thing, not our main thing.
We are 60 episodes almost in, though.
Yes, that is very.
Can I bring up one point?
Yes.
If you're having a conversation with a friend and a topic comes up on something that we've covered in the past,
Wow, Dave.
please, here's a really cool thing. Go back and search on that topic and share it with them. Send it to them. Send them in a message. I do it all the time with podcasts. Do that. It helps us grow. That was it.
Damn, you came in with a good closing statement there.
There it is.
I see it. Maybe I should let the reins be going over to you, and you should end up doing our closing statement. Next thing you know, you'll have your own podcast.
No, I just like the sharing aspect. If you can help.
For sure, guys. And make sure that you give us a subscribe and follow. 5 stars, preferably. Give us a written review. If you don't know how to do a written review, just go into Apple Podcasts. If you're an Android user, you're going to have to use the desktop version. If you're an iPhone user, obviously it's already built into your phone. So all you're going to do is pull up that podcasting app. You're going to go under our podcast. And then if you're not subscribed, click subscribe. And then you're going to scroll down to write a review. Write it in the box. Give us a 5 stars. And then we will catch you in the next episode.
See you guys.
See ya. Thank you for watching or listening or both to The Closing Pitch. If you would like to get your closing pitch featured on the show, we use a podcasting app called Anchor, where you can submit your statement or question via audio. Or what you can do is comment in the comment section of this post. We also accept direct messages. Please give us the A-OK if you do send us a DM to use your statement or question on the show. Last thing, please give us a review on your platform of choice. 5-star preferably, and we value your opinion, and this allows us to reach more people. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you in the next episode.